Well, welcome, Naomi. Thank you very much for taking the time to chat to me about your experience with ILP Academy. Can you share with me your initial motivations for enrolling into the Cert 4 program?
Well, at the time that I enrolled in the Cert 4 program, I was in corporate training and I'd done a training and assessing certificate and been worked in the vocational education system, but had moved into corporate training and found it a completely different place to be in. And after looking at the content of the Learning Design and Facilitation Cert 4, I really thought that it would help me to improve the training that I was creating in my corporate role and also add to what I already knew from the training and assessing Cert 4.
Amazing. So, given that you've done the TAE before, how do you see the Cert 4 ILP Academy Cert 4 different to the training and assessment qualification?
So the training and assessment qualification is very vocational education training specific. It talks to designing to the scope. It talks around the compliance, assessing against compliance. And what I found when I went into corporate training is without having that scope and without having those key requirements or elements, I really struggled to put together my content and put together my design. Whereas going through the Cert 4 with ILP, I learnt about not only about learning processes, the way people learn. I learnt about how to put together good learning outcomes and how to really start from scratch. And I really didn't have that background or knowledge because I'd been in the vocational education where you're stuck with the criteria and the elements and performance criteria that are under the training.gov and the ASQA requirements. So you have something to design to and to create for, whereas the corporate training world that I was in didn't really have that. And so I found the Learning Design and Facilitation certificate beneficial in assisting me to build that so that then I could use that as a springboard to then design and facilitate from there.
Amazing. So I know with the Cert 4, when you start the qualification, you need to, and talking about ILP Cert 4, you need to think about projects that you're actually going to do throughout the qualification. So did you find that easy to identify a project and what project did you decide to do that on?
That's a really interesting question because I did. I
Mm.
had the perfect project and I started the perfect project and then I left that workplace.
Right.
So I moved on from that workplace. And so there was a while there between jobs and moving into a new role that didn't have as much learning design or facilitation as my previous role had had, where I struggled with finding a project. And
Mm.
so I kind of had to put bits and pieces together from my new role and reached out to my manager here um, and um, managed to put together a project. But interestingly enough, it was because of the initial core subjects that I'd done in the Cert 4 in facilitation, including the neuroscience subject, that actually got me the job that I moved to because
Wow.
of my knowledge of the neuroscience behind learning and learning needs analysis and that sort of thing, being able to use the examples and information that I'd gained from the ILP certificate, that actually put me ahead and was one of the comments from my manager when I did that as to why I was employed, because of that knowledge that I gained from this certificate.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations. So how has the course actually helped you towards, doing your professional development? You've mentioned that you started in one workplace and went to another. Initially, I would say it's obviously having done that one unit, it's actually giving you a bit of a kickstart with your recruitment process or will help you get the role. So how else has that helped you with your PD in general?
So it's helped me to look at different ways of designing content, including the blended learning styles. That I'd sort of done content where I designed either for online, face-to-face, or virtual facilitation, but I'd never looked at a project that did all three. And so coming up with different ideas. And here at my workplace, the people that I work with, they are delivering training in different modes, and some of them are even delivering in hybrid modes as well as asynchronous. And so learning the information I learnt in the design phase and the facilitate virtually phase, I've been able to pass on that information to the people that I work with, and the people whose skills, part of my role is building the digital fluency of my stakeholders. And using the information I've gained from the ILP Cert 4 has really allowed me to pass that information on and to better the performance of our stakeholders within my current role.
Yeah, wonderful. That's really good. And what about your support from ILP? So from Adam, your assessors, how did you find the support throughout your journey?
I found them really helpful. Whenever I got stuck in a rut and couldn't move forward and things just seemed too overwhelming, both the trainer, Raj, and Adam were happy to jump on a Zoom and have a quick session and help me step through what I still needed to have, what was outstanding, and really helped me to get my thoughts in order to then put a plan in place to then go and move forward in my assessments and get through the certificate.
Yeah, oh, that's really good feedback. I'll pass that on. So what about the LMS, so Learn Worlds? How did you find that platform for doing your online course?
So I've done a bit of online learning in various different organisations, and the ILP Learn Worlds LMS was certainly one of the better ones that I've used. I sorry, as part of while I was doing the Cert 4 ILP, things changed because I was one of the very early sort of cohorts that came through. And so I saw progression and change, and ILP were happy to take on feedback from those students, such as myself, who were struggling in the beginning with how it was organised and how it looked. And so they took on the feedback, and by the end of my journey, it was a much smoother journey, and the learning platform was easy to use. And yeah, apparently there have been more changes since I finished that are as part of our feedback from the early stages.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, feedback's very important, especially with a new course going live. So you've mentioned a couple of challenges. So you mentioned one about changing roles, and then obviously with the LMS and the feedback. Did you experience any other challenges while you're doing the course?
Nothing that was within the scope of the Cert 4. Obviously, life throws you challenges all the time. But what I did appreciate was that if I did ever get stuck, I was able to reach out to the people that I'd met through ILP, not just Adam and Raj, but Kerry and other members of the L&D lounge and things like that. And I think that was one of the greatest things, is getting the ILP membership as part of it, and being a member of the L&D lounge. I've really enjoyed meeting other people from the L&D community who I would have otherwise not have met, and I've learnt a lot of those people that I've been able to put into my own practice. So,
yeah, great. And there's some really good conversations we have in those Friday meetings. So yeah, very worthwhile those sessions. So you talked about doing the Cert 4 helped you progress into this new role, which is great. Can you share any other insights that you feel doing the Cert 4 might give you from a career perspective?
It certainly opened my eyes into the broader corporate training world. I'd come into my previous corporate training role that I had when I initially joined here. I'd come in sort of a back way and had fallen into it, and was using my knowledge from my volunteer RTO experience. And just fell into it and didn't really have a network to reach out to. I was by myself. I eventually had a colleague come in and join me in the team who had other corporate experience as well. My scope of people that I had for sort of that PD and that reaching out and networking with was very small while I was in that previous role. But this Cert 4 has helped me to broaden my knowledge around learning and learning design, facilitation, all of those sorts of things, training needs analysis. I'd never done a training needs analysis, things like that. It really opened my eyes to what actually needs to go into creating a learning journey from nothing to the end goal. I'd sort of come in at bits and pieces throughout, and this really helped me to learn how to go from nothing to a finished product.
Yeah, that's the beauty about this qualification, is it takes you right from the beginning to the end. So that's great. And it's good to actually hear that feedback. So in your own words, what would you, if someone was considering doing the qualification, what would you say to them?
Oh, I'd say if you're in learning design and facilitation, it's definitely a must. Like, even if you are from a RTO perspective and you do have a training and assessing certificate already, even if you don't do the full course, looking at some of the modules like facilitating virtually was really helpful and beneficial to talk about things that you might need to consider when you're facilitating virtually, looking at designing content and blended learning journeys. So if you're creating content and stuff from scratch, even in an RTO, I'd still find the information beneficial. So definitely, if your job is learning and facilitation, then definitely do the course, if not modules, to help improve your professional development.